And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host and author, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome back tonight New York Times best-selling author Deanna Raybourn, here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new book out tomorrow, Kills Well with Others. Deanna, welcome back to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is the follow-up to Killers of a Certain Age, which came out in 2022 and did really well. So they asked me to write another one. So here we are with our 4 60-year-old assassins again.
Yay! Well, I am so excited to chat assassins and murder and mystery and all of the good things. And I just want to welcome everyone because we are broadcasting live to 7 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. This is the right time. It is Mystery Monday, and because Mondays can be murder, we are going to make it a little less painful and get your week off to a killer start. So this is your first time here. Welcome. Every Monday, I interview my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Deanna about these killers. Ask her about her research in the Playboy Bunny Club. I need to know more about this. Ask her about her writing process. Ask her anything you want to know. Just get those questions going in the comments, and I will get them right over to her. All right, I see they're already coming in. Randy is joining us from YouTube. Very on brand with that black cat, Randy.
Look at that cat.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, Randy. He says, hi, Sara and Deanna. We have Chris joining us from YouTube as well. So happy to be here. Well, Chris, we're so happy to have you. Welcome. We have Sharon joining us from YouTube as well, saying, hey, girls. Hey, girl, to you. Welcome. Good to have you. Okay, now, Deanna, the book comes out tomorrow, and I am so excited, you guys, because Deanna is going to our partner in crime, Murder by the Book, next week. And you know what that means? She can sign books for you. So this is very, very exciting, and I'm going to be sharing that link in just a few minutes. Robin is joining us from Facebook saying, hi, Sara and Deanna. Deanna, I must duck out for a few, but I want to say hi. Robin, we'll be here when you get back. You can always catch us on the replay, girl. Jane is joining us from Facebook saying, so excited to read this book. The first one was terrific. Jane, wasn't it terrific? I love these ladies, and I'm so excited to see them back.
So I lost you for about 30 seconds.
Oh, how weird.
There was a cute little Hello Kitty graphic, and then you broke up and I lost you. So if you asked me a question, I missed it.
No, I'm just saying hi to everybody. Okay, we've got Robin joining us from Facebook. We've got Jane joining us from Facebook saying, so excited to read this book. The first one was terrific. Jane, wasn't it terrific? It was so fun. And now we are back with our favorite killers. So Deanna, let's start there. It's so good to be back with our ladies. Tell us about how it was for you writing the second installation of this fabulous series.
Oh, it was so much fun. I loved writing the first one. It was absolutely terrifying to, kind of, because I had my beautiful little historical mystery niche. And so busting out of that's terrifying. And it was such a scary experience writing the first one, and it was so much work that, getting to go back when I knew who they were, I knew what their world was. It made it so much more fun, where I could just kind of let my imagination, run free, and I wasn't quite as paralyzed with terror the whole time. But I really loved because we set them up in book 1. In book 2, we were able to take a little bit more time to kind of see what their relationships are like. How are they doing with retirement? They're 2 years into retirement. We can get a little bit deeper into what their relationships are with each other. And some of them are doing a little self-actualization as they finally have an opportunity to focus on themselves after 40 years at the job. But yeah, they're pushing each other's buttons.
Well, I love that you are just telling us that it was, in fact, terrifying for you to write something that was so different. You were saying, I was so comfortable in my historical fiction niche, which, by the way, I love me some historical fiction. And it was scary to write something new. Thank you for telling us that it was scary. And what an incredible validation to have the book be received with such excitement, with such success, with so much enthusiasm, because I think we are ready as readers to see women of a certain age and killers of a certain age. Like, this is exciting for us.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it definitely kind of popped into an open space in the market where there's just not a ton. I'm certainly not the first person to write older people doing something extraordinary, but there's just not enough of them. We need more. We need
Why do you
more.
think there isn't enough? Why are people not writing this?
Well, I think historically we haven't seen, I mean, even if you look at romance, you don't see nearly as much like second chance, 45, 50, 55-year-olds having romance. Every genre tends to focus a little bit more on the 25-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, who are gorgeous and everything's tight and, pointing the correct direction. But I think that as we're getting older, as we I'm Gen X and we're all looking down a very short road at 60. And 60 looks different now than it did when we were teenagers. When we were teenagers, Golden Girls came out and everybody was like, oh, they're 70. They weren't 70. B. Arthur was 50. B. Arthur was 55. I'm 56. And this is my natural hair color. I mean, I'm not dyeing this. We look different now.
Oh my God, this is not my natural hair color. I mean, it is, but I dye it to make it this color.
There's a ton of silver in here. I promise. Anybody who actually shows up to Murder by the Book next week is going to see, feel free to come up and look. There's a lot of silver in there.
Oh my God. But Pete, someone might do that, Deanna.
You know what? The most unusual I had is someone who came up and sniffed me because they wanted to know what my perfume smelled like. Which I thought, okay, sure.
What perfume do you wear? Now
at that time I was wearing Chanel No. 5. But let's see. Right now I've been wearing a lot of Maison Kirkjan, the à la rose. Wow. I do like a rose-based perfume, but not like sweet rose. I like rose with an edge.
Oh my God, I love it.
I'm kind of a perfume whore. Like I have boxes and boxes of all these samples. I love fragrance.
I'm learning so much about you. This is fabulous.
I got into it because it's actually a fascinating way to learn how to write sensory, how to write olfactory, how to write and put your characters, put the reader right in the middle of a scene. One of the senses that I think as writers we don't necessarily discuss often enough is how things smell. And so I was diving into some perfume memoirs, which these are actually a thing. And the writers just wrote so exquisitely about the sense of smell. I was like, oh yeah, I need to tap into that in my fiction. So it actually ended up, I mean, it started off as just a fun hobby thing for me, but it ended up really kind of informing my work in a fun way.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So I took a writing workshop about 15 years ago with Claire Dederer, who's an incredible journalist and New York Times bestselling author. And she said, you need to work in the 5 senses as often as you can in every scene. How does it smell? How does it taste? How does it touch? How does it feel? And I think about that all the time. So this is very cool.
And it's very easy to ignore a lot of times touch and smell. I think it's very easy to ignore those. We're so focused on how things sounded or how they looked that it's a little bit easier to let the rest of them slide. And so I like to kind of put an emphasis on those when I can.
Oh my gosh. Well, I totally agree. And I try to do the same because it is such a strong sense. You guys, the book comes out tomorrow. Deanna is coming on tonight to give us the inside scoop and take all of your most pressing questions. So whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube, here is the link to pre-order your signed copies, signed and personalized. So what do I always say? Books make the best gift. Signed books make a better gift. And personalized signed books make the very best gift of all. When you're checking out, just put in the comments how you want Deanna to sign it. We have Mother's Day coming up. What would make a better gift than this book about women of a certain age? Then for your mother, for your grandmother, for your daughter, this is such a perfect Mother's Day birthday for the woman reader in your life. So here's where you can have Deanna sign it to her. Just put it in the comments to your mom, to your sister, to your daughter, to your grandmother. Get your signed personalized copy, a perfect gift for for that female reader in your life. Okay. Oh my goodness, we have so many comments. Okay, we have Kim saying hello, a book friends. Jane saying hi, ladies. Will there be a third book in the series?
I don't know yet. I did not know there would be a second one when the first one dropped. Publishers are little c conservative. They love to keep you in your beautiful little pigeonhole when your pigeonhole is successful. And my historical mystery pigeonhole was successful. And it was a wonderful, great leap of faith for them to let me write a contemporary thriller. Because a lot of authors don't get an opportunity to write outside of what's usually their field. And so it was a huge treat for me and a huge leap of faith for them. And so we did not know how the first one was going to go down, and it did extremely well. And so very shortly after that, they said, yeah, we're going to need a book 2. So if this one does extremely well, then I'm sure they're going to want a book 3. So it's down to the readers, man. It's down to the readers.
My goodness. Okay, so it's up for us. So what does that mean? That means we have power. So every purchase is a vote. Every review is a vote. Every share, every recommendation. These are all votes. Voting is not something we do every 4 years or every 2 years. Although, please God, tell me you're voting every 4 and 2 years. But it's every time you swipe a credit card, every time you make a recommendation, every time you support a small woman-owned independent bookstore like Murder by the Book. These are all ways that you vote for the future that you want and the books that you want to see on the shelves. Catherine joining us from YouTube saying hi from Austin, Texas. Yay! Or hi, Texas. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining us from Austin, Catherine.
Very close to my old stomping grounds. I'm from San Antonio.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know you were a Texan, Deanna.
Oh yeah. 6 generations, man. Yeah. Whoa. I've lived in Virginia for about 20 years, but I grew up in San Antonio. So I am a South Texas girl through and through.
Oh, I love it. John is joining us from Northeast Ohio on Facebook. Hi, John. So good to have you. Thanks for stopping by. Now, Deanna, I want to talk to you about some of this amazing praise. So first of all, from #1 New York Times bestselling author Lisa Gardner, I loved this quote. She said,
"How amazing!
Like fine wine, battle-hardened assassins grow better with age." What a great review from #1.
It was so kind of her to read the book and give us a quote in advance, and much appreciated.
Yay. Now, Deanna, you open this book in the most unlikely of all places, which is 1982 in the Playboy Bunny Club in Chicago. So first of all, where the ladies are, well, then possibly girls, still young women, are undercover in bunny costumes as cocktail waitresses and bartenders and coat check girls. But they are there to take someone out. Tell us what a fabulous setting. I loved everything about the scene so much, with a most unlikely murder weapon. So first of all, why did you set that opening scene in a Playboy Bunny Club? And why did you choose the murder weapon that you did?
Well, I love doing the flashback scenes because the first book, Killers of a Certain Age, and the sequel, Kills Well with Others, both have their contemporary thrillers, but we have some flashback scenes to when our killers were a little bit younger, and also to some of the other murders that they've done throughout their careers. And each one of the flashbacks kind of gives you a little more insight into why they are the way that they are. And I thought, okay, we want to open this. We opened the first book with a bang. That was their very first mission ever, and things go really badly wrong in Killers of a Certain Age. When you're watching this whole first scene open, you're like, oh, they're not very good at this. But they managed to pull it out and make a successful kill anyway. So I thought, okay, we want to open with another flashback because those are super fun. And again, things go wrong. And I thought, I tried to think of all the different ways that you would send 4 women together undercover. They're young, they're attractive. What are they going to be doing? And so, I ran through all of the typical things that you would think of, and immediately hit on Playboy Bunny Club. Because, why not? And the great thing is, the scene takes place in 1982. And by 82, the bunny clubs were like really on their way out. These were not the glamorous clubs of the late 60s, when people were really, you were getting all of the Rat Pack in there. everything else. And this one is in Chicago, so it's not the one in New York City. And so it gave me a chance to really play with this whole, like, I mean, we all know what the bunny clubs were, and what these women, we can anticipate what it must have been like to be a cocktail waitress when all that, people just want to be there to pat your ass. That's the whole thing. And there is actually a callback to this in the very first book that I set in accidentally, where in the opening scene, Billy is playing a stewardess at the time. They weren't flight attendants yet. And she has to do what's called the bunny dip, where it's when you present your drinks, and instead of bending over, which of course bunnies could never do, you have to lower your knees. Yeah, you go into this sort of it's not even a plie. It sounds like incredibly painful on the knees, but she does this little bunny dip to deliver the thing. And so when I went to write this book, I'm like, oh, let's use the bunny dip again. And where do you use the bunny dip? The Playboy Club.
I love getting the inside scoop on this because I actually remembered the bunny dip on the stewardess scene, because I have a freakishly good memory. Ask my husband; I never forget a thing, and to his detriment. And I remembered reading that in the first one because I had years ago watched this documentary about what it was like to be a Playboy bunny in the 1960s, and how they had to train to do that backbend dip.
The club was very exacting as far as their training and, what you wore, how you behaved, how you delivered drinks. The intention was that the girls were supposed to be extremely classy, that they were supposed to deliver this aspirational experience, for the men. And the funny thing is, when you read the memoirs of some of the women who worked in the club, some of them very much had that experience and some of them very much didn't. And so it's very, very interesting to me to see, 30 years down the line, 40 years, 50 years after these women worked in the clubs, to hear what their experiences were and what they took away from them and how different. Because there are some women who will defend it to the death and say, it was great. I made awesome money, fantastic tips. I met a lot of interesting people. And then you have other people saying, no, it was degrading and awful. And so it's very interesting to see the different perspectives. But yeah, that was a happy accident that I put the bunny dip in the first one and then ended up, going, yeah, I need that. I'm going to use that. So,
well, it worked out well. And now let's talk about the intended murder weapon, which I thought was so clever. Tell us about and also one of the clients pats the wrong ass because it's an assassin. An assassin. And he pats.
Yeah.
But tell us about the murder weapon, because I don't think I've seen that one before.
I'm fascinated by the idea of what you can do in plain sight if you are underestimated because you are a woman, because you're older, because you're younger, because our society loves to underestimate women. As a whole, our society just enjoys doing that. And so if you are a woman who's very attractive, if you're a woman who's very unattractive, if you're too old, if you're too young, people will find reasons not to pay attention to you, not to listen to you, not to watch you. If you're, busy murdering people, as our assassins are. And yes, they're attempting to murder this guy with a cocktail right in front of everybody, by tapping into his anaphylactic shock, and, spiking his cocktail with a little something that's going to send him, popping out in a bunch of hives and his airway slamming shut. So
as someone,
at least that's the plan. That's the plan.
It strangely does not go that way. And more drastic measures have to be taken. But as someone with a food allergy, I was like, that would be a bad way to go. I mean, I guess there's no.
It would be a very bad way to go. And I feel like, these assassins are not always super thoughtful about sparing their victims pain and suffering.
But I like that. Like, I like how you'll dip out and say, if Billy was in a good mood, she would have done it this way. But Billy was not in a good mood, so she did it this way. I'm like, yeah, go Billy. Like,
well, I think, and one of the things that I was kind of edging readers into, and I didn't want to hit them over the head with it, is for people to assassinate folks for 40 years, they have to be at least registering a little bit on the psychopathy scale. These are psychopathic, sociopathic, at least a little bit. And they're recruited when they're 20 years old, and they are young women who have trauma. And this is not an agency that's saying, hey, let us help you with this trauma. They're like, no, let's harness your trauma. Let's use that for our good, which is, a completely indefensible and unethical thing to do. But they're, the museum, the organization they work for is Machiavellian in that they very much believe that the end justifies the means. And the means is, we're going to take these 4 young women who are 20 years old, who have trauma, and we're not going to fix it. We're just not going to fix it. We're going to exploit it.
But also, Deanna, it's been almost, oh my gosh, it's been 5 years this month, almost 5 years since I launched this series. I can't believe it. And in those 5 years, I've interviewed over 400, I've hosted over 400 interviews, and some of those have been with assassins, so snipers. And the thing is we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to think about it, but somebody's doing that work for the government or for various organizations. And that is an uncomfortable thing for us to have to integrate. And yet this is in fact the truth.
Well, I don't see that there's any way that you can take someone else's life, even if you feel that it's justified, and not be affected by that. Right. I don't believe it's the sort of job where you just go and, hang your bandolier on the coat hook and say, hey, honey, what's for dinner? There have to be consequences or repercussions within your psyche, within your soul. There have to be.
Well, I asked one of the authors who was a sniper for the Navy SEALs for I think 20 years, and then came home from, Syria and Lebanon and all of the places he had been working, and designed the sniper course for the next upcoming class of snipers. So there's sniper school. Who knew? And I asked him, how has that been on your psyche? Do you have PTSD? And he said, of course I do. And I said, how do you do that? How do you deal with that?
But yoga, kudos to him for knowing that he does, and for, being human enough that's the response, because our 4 assassins are not quite that self-aware. Even at 60, 62, they're still not really opening up that particular Pandora's box to see what's inside.
They're keep it closed to keep doing the work. Or to get through the day.
And if, by the time they get to be in their early 60s, I think it's almost a feeling of, look, dude, the ship has sailed. Like, we've done this, we've done it well. Let's just ride this pony on out to death. It's fine.
And unintended.
And they're not really looking to fix whatever is essentially broken. And they're just getting by the best that they can.
Thomas joining us from Facebook saying, this book sounds like a hoot. I can't wait to read it. Thomas, it is a hoot. It is a hoot and a half. And this is a good time for me to remind you that we have the option of signed and personalized books available through our partner in crime, Murder by the Book, the fabulous woman-owned, independent, Texas-based bookstore. And whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube, you can click and pre-order your signed and personalized copy. Again, just put it in the comment box when you check out how you would like Deanna to sign it. She will sign and personalize it. And you, or the good folks at Murder by the Book, will send it out to you as soon as Deanna does that.
Because I will be there next week on book tour. So if folks are in the Houston area, come on out and see us.
If you're in the Houston area, come out and see her. And if you're not, the bookstore sends to anywhere in the world. So we can all have signed and personalized, books. And the praise just keeps rolling in. BuzzFeed deeming the book The Golden Girls meets James Bond, which is perhaps the most fun of all of all of the of all of the reviews. I was like, they get you, Deanna. And that is not the only praise rolling in. The Washington Post saying it is impossible not to root for, hold on, I'm going to pop this up so we can all read it together, for these dangerous dames and their refusal to let themselves be put on the ash heap, a phrase that in this thriller should be taken literally. What a rave review from the New York Times. Oprah Daily raving that this book is propulsive and unpredictable, a distinctly feminist escapade. Book List awarding you a starred review. Congratulations on that, Deanna. Saying, imagine if the Golden Girls were trained assassins, and you'll have some idea of the delights and thrills filling Raybourn's latest, a fun, exciting romp that celebrates the everlasting bonds of sisterhood. Thank you guys for the hearts and the thumbs up on Facebook. I see you. But I think what I like about this one is that they're talking about this book is fun, and these women, are not only badass killers, but they have each other's backs. They
do. Absolutely. Were those quotes all for the new book?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. I had no idea. I don't let them send me. Now this, I knew this from Jocelyn Jackson. Yeah. She and I have had a running joke for the last, maybe 12 years, where we met at a literary festival in Dahlonega, Georgia, and immediately shared a bottle of Prosecco and told each other our life stories. I adore Jocelyn Jackson. She's a phenomenal writer.
Jocelyn's and also been on the show.
She's just the greatest. And we immediately looked at each other and went, you are a national treasure. No, you are a national treasure. So we keep joking that if we ever, are asked to blurb each other's books, we're just going to put it out there and refer to each other. And she got me first.
Oh my God, I love it.
So yeah, she's just the greatest, which I really appreciate, because praise from her, it means a lot, because she's such a fine writer that I just, I take that very much to heart. But I do not let my agent or my publicist or my editor, nobody is allowed to send me reviews.
So now I'm just popping them all.
So I have no idea what people have said about it. They, my husband is on the email chain. They will all discuss it with him, and that's it. That's all I know.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Margaret Pernard, our fellow author from Portland, Oregon, saying it's the queen.
I will be up kind of in that neck of the woods. I'll be in Seattle next week. So, and because I never get to the Pacific Northwest, I'm counting that as being Portland adjacent.
Oh, perfect. Margaret saying all y'all need is the Dame title. Oh my God, perfect. Sharon saying kind of like Charlie's Angels in their elder years. A great comp there, Sharon. Very Margaret good. Totally agreeing. And y'all, I just want to remind you that the book is out tomorrow. Deanna's coming on tonight to give us the inside scoop the night before the book comes out. It's not even out yet. She is dropping by to give us the inside scoop, and you can order your signed and personalized copy. Again, I'm going to pop it up right here, whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube. Now, Deanna, some people were not able to join us live, and they submitted questions in advance.
Oh, fun.
So Renee's Ramblings on Instagram, she's a book influencer, gave you a rave review, and she would like to know what is your creative process for choosing your characters' names?
Oh, that's interesting. Vibe.
Okay.
Vibe.
Tell us more.
If I come across a name that I think is interesting and might suit a character, I will kind of just throw it into a note on my phone. And if I'm looking for inspiration, I may go back to that note. In the case of these particular women, Billy is not necessarily named for a great aunt of mine, but she's definitely inspired by my great aunt Billie Jean. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was just, she did have a couple of things in common with Billy. She was very much larger than life, and just so much charisma and just this incredible love of life. And she lived large, man. She lived large.
Oh,
And she didn't always have a really easy life. And so that's kind of why, you know, Billy was my homage to these Texas women that I grew up with, who not all of them had it easy, but they very much just put their shoulder to it and just kept
oh,
on going. And they are resilient and they're tough and they're just extraordinary women. And so I wanted to use a name that for me encapsulated all of that. And so Billy was absolutely that name. Mary Alice is a nod to a person I adore so much. My bestie, her legal first name is Alice. It's not a name she goes by. Nobody knows her by that name. But so I thought, oh, Mary Alice, just as a fond little wave. I don't even know if she knows that. Like, I don't even know if she's figured out that Mary Alice is called Mary Alice because of that.
oh my God.
Natalie, just, you know, I think somewhere in the back of my mind, Natalie, I must have known a Natalie at some point who was a brat. So I've got that association with Bradley,
Really?
which I cannot believe that Billy has not called her yet. Actually, I feel like it'd probably be Mary Alice who would call her that because they have an attitude. And then Helen is because I just wanted something that was kind of simple but elegant, you know, just very, it kind of has a little air of refinement to it. I love Helen.
Helen. That's yeah, exactly. You can't, you have
Helen.
to be classy if your name is Helen.
Right? I feel like you do. Helen.
Yeah.
So I love, so that's where they all came from. And then Tavener is actually named for an English composer.
Oh, thank God. I was calling him Taverner in my head. So it's Tavener. Okay.
No, he was named for an English composer.
Oh,
So if you ever go look up Tavener, you can listen to some of his music.
oh, perfect. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Well, thank you for that great question. Margaret laughing. I love it. You guys, we are out of time. Time flies when you're having this much fun. Again, the book drops tomorrow and you have a few days to order your signed and personalized copy. Did I mention this would make the perfect Mother's Day gift? You got to think ahead. You got to stockpile those gifts all year round. So here again is that link. Deanna, thank you for coming on again to give us the inside scoop on
My
Kill
pleasure. Thank you
Well
so much for having
with
me. And
Others.
thank you to everybody who joined us and sent in questions.
Yay. And if you didn't have a question, if you are a lurker, I still see you. Thank you, Deanna, Alice, Diane, Yvette, Diana, Gwen, Alan, Yvonne, Maria, Christina, John, Catherine, Catherine with a C, Catherine with a K, Shirley, Annalie, Dana, Margaret, Kim, Robin, Jane, Jean, Kim M. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to get to everyone, but I see you. Thank you for all the hearts. Thank you for all the love. And we will be back at the top of the hour with real life wildlife endangered species expert turned thriller author Alice Henderson in the inside scoop on jaguars. So stay tuned for that.